Sudan. A hospital was bombed. 70 people were killed. 13 of them were children. The building was completely destroyed. Also, Sudan. Drone attacks are killing civilians every day. 500 people have died since January. And the attacks are crossing into neighboring Chad, Haiti. Gangs now control 80% of the capital. Over 1,500 women and girls were sexually assaulted last year. And private drones may be carrying out targeted killings. Nigeria. Boko Haram bombed a market, a hospital and a post office. 23 people died. 108 were injured. Russia. A 23-year-old woman was sent to prison. Her crime? Running a nightclub for LGBT people, the European Union. Europe voted to expand detention of migrants. People could be sent to offshore centers in countries they have never visited. Japan. A new law could make it illegal to burn a flag. Human rights groups say this threatens free speech. This is the Human Rights Weekly. Let's begin. On March 20, 2026, a hospital was bombed in Sudan. The hospital was called Al-Dana Teaching Hospital. It was located in the city of Al-Fashir in North Darfur. 70 people were killed. 7 of them were women. 13 were children. 1 doctor was killed. 2 nurses were killed. 146 people were injured. The World Health Organization spoke about this attack. The WHO spokesperson, Dr. Temo Wakanivalu, presented the report. The WHO representative in Sudan, Dr. Hamid Kudari, described what happened.
The United Nations Human Rights Council will hold an urgent debate on Wednesday, the 25th of March, to, quote, discuss the recent military aggression launched by Iran against Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates on the 28th of February 2026, targeting civilians and civilian infrastructures, which has resulted in the loss of innocent lives, end quotes. This urgent debate is being convened following an urgent official request submitted on the 18th of March by Bahrain on behalf of the Cooperation Council for Arab States of the Gulf and Jordan.
The hospital is now completely gone. It cannot function. People in Al-Fashir have lost a critical medical facility. Al-Fashir is the only major city in Darfur still under government control. It has been under siege for months. Millions of people depend on it for safety and medical care. The WHO also warned that this is not an isolated event. Attacks on healthcare in Sudan are systematic. Doctors, nurses, and patients are being killed. Hospitals are being used as targets. The UN calls this a possible war crime. Under international law, attacking a hospital is prohibited. It does not matter if there is a conflict. Medical facilities must be protected. No one has been held accountable. The fighting continues. And the people of Al-Fashir have nowhere to go. Now to more devastating news from Sudan. The UN Human Rights Office, known as OHCHR, gave a report on March 24th. The news was alarming. From January 1st to March 15th, 2026, at least 500 civilians were killed in Sudan. Not soldiers, civilians, regular people trying to survive.
In addition, the session will also examine a number of country cases under the ILO's supervisory procedures. All the documents, the full documentation, agenda, and all related material are available on ilo.org. And if you want to attend, you can send us a request at newsroom@ilo.org. Thank you.
These attacks are not staying inside Sudan's borders. They are crossing into Chad. In one incident, a convoy of 23 civilians was attacked. They were trying to flee the violence. They were crossing the border into Chad. All 23 were killed. These are families, parents, children trying to escape, and they were killed while running. The Sudanese conflict began in April 2023. It is a war between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces. Both sides have been accused of war crimes. The UN says this is one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world. Millions of people have been displaced. Tens of thousands have been killed. And the international community has not stopped it. Now to Haiti. The situation there is getting worse. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, presented a new report. The report covers March through December 2025. The numbers are shocking. Gangs now control 80% of Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti. 80%. In 2025, gangs killed 1,424 people. Government security forces killed 3,497 people. Among those killed by security forces, 79 were children. But the most disturbing numbers concern women and girls. 1,571 women and girls, victims of sexual violence, between March and December 2025. That is more than 5 women or girls every single day. Volker Turk, the UN High Commissioner, described what is happening.
Violence perpetrated by gangs has resulted in at least 1,424 people killed. Operations against gangs led by security forces have caused at least 3,497 people to be killed. And attacks against gangs by self-defense groups have caused at least 598 people to be killed. Between the 1st March 2025 and the 31st December 2025, at least 1,571 women and girls were victims of sexual violence, mostly gun rape.
There is another alarming development. A private company is operating armed drones in Haiti. The UN says these drones may be carrying out targeted killings. This is deeply concerning. Who authorized this? Who is accountable? The UN is calling for an immediate investigation. Haiti has no functioning government that can stop this. International efforts to restore order have largely failed. The people of Haiti are suffering, and the world is watching. Now to Nigeria. A city called Maiduguri was attacked on March the 16th, 2026. 3 bombs exploded in crowded places. A market, an area near the post office, the gate of a university hospital. 23 people were killed. 108 people were injured. Human Rights Watch spoke to witnesses. One man said he was at a restaurant when the explosion happened. He saw people thrown to the ground. He saw fire and blood. Another witness, a fruit seller, described the chaos. We all began running for safety without knowing where to hide. I knew it was a bomb blast because I've heard that sound before in Maiduguri. The Nigerian military says these were coordinated attacks. The suspected group is Boko Haram, also known as JAS. Boko Haram was weakened in 2021 after its leader died. For a while, Maiduguri was relatively calm, but in December 2025, a mosque was bombed there. And now this. Human Rights Watch says the attacks are war crimes. Bombing markets and hospitals is prohibited by international law. The attacks were indiscriminate. They targeted civilians. HRW is calling on Nigeria to investigate, to protect civilians, and to support the victims. Now to Russia. On March 23, 2026, a court in Russia sentenced a young woman to prison. Her name is Tatiana Zorina. She is 23 years old. Her crime? She ran a nightclub called Tochka. It was a safe space for LGBT people. The court said she was organizing an extremist organization, the so-called International LGBT Movement. This movement does not actually exist. Russia invented it in 2023 to criminalize LGBT life. The sentence 4 years in a penal colony, plus a ban on running online platforms after her release. Amnesty International responded immediately. Running a private venue intended as a space where LGBTI people can safely be themselves is not a crime. Denying this right is deplorable. This is not an isolated case. By the end of 2025, at least 23 criminal cases had been opened in Russia, all of them for extremism related to LGBT activity. People are being imprisoned for going to a nightclub. for dancing, for existing. In Russia today, that is a crime. Now to Europe. On March 26, 2026, the European Parliament voted. The vote was on migration policy. The Parliament approved a new return regulation. This is a law about deporting migrants and asylum seekers. Amnesty International is very critical of this decision. Today, the European Parliament has voted to expand the EU's punitive and restrictive detention and deportation plans. This marks a growing trend towards increasingly harmful, exclusionary, and draconian policies on migration. What does this law mean in practice? First, longer detention periods. People seeking asylum can be kept in detention for much longer. Second, return hubs. These are offshore detention centers. Migrants could be sent to countries they have never visited, countries that are not their home. Amnesty International says this violates international law. People could be sent to places where they are not safe, without a fair process, without proper protection. Human rights groups are alarmed. Over 200 civil society organizations are calling for the law to be rejected, but it passed. Negotiations with the EU Council will now begin. Now to Japan. On March 17, 2026, Japan's Prime Minister made an announcement. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said she wants a new law. The law would criminalize the desecration of the Japanese national flag. Currently, Japan only makes it a crime to damage foreign flags, not the Japanese flag itself. The ruling coalition says this is a contradiction. They want to fix it. The proposed law would punish people for burning, damaging, or defacing the flag. The penalty, up to 2 years in prison, or a fine of 200,000 yen, about $2,500. Human Rights Watch says this is dangerous. Flag burning is a form of political protest. In the United States, the Supreme Court has ruled it is protected free speech. In Hong Kong, similar laws have already been used to target protesters. A 13-year-old girl was put on probation for burning a flag. The UN Human Rights Committee has expressed concern about these laws. They restrict peaceful protest. They punish symbolic speech. The bill has not been submitted to Japan's parliament yet, but Human Rights Watch is calling on Japan to reject it.